This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development companies who are struggling with predictable lead flow, a sniper approach to attracting the ideal clients, and a system that qualifies them so they can have a smoother sales process, finally have scalability, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because nothing seems to work outside of word of mouth and referral based lead generation. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead gen with a packed pipeline that creates sustainable revenue and year over year growth for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the one, the talented Bill Wallace. Bill, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You're welcome.
Guys, I am so excited for you to meet him, and I'm excited to get to know him better as well. This man he's living the life. He is doing some amazing work with his company, but we just had a brief conversation about how he is tomorrow, actually, from the time of this recording, on a trip and being able to go off the grid and do some hunting, which is, I think, what everyone necessarily wants to be able to create in their life is the ability to not just invest in their work and in their clients, but also be able to invest in life. And so I'm really excited to hear from him. So let me take a moment to just introduce this powerhouse man, and I'm going to let him take it away. Bill Wallace is the executive vice president at Revenue Storm and a powerhouse in strategic sales enablement. With decades of experience leading high performing teams and driving transformative growth, Bill is known for turning complex business challenges into clear, actionable strategies that deliver measurable results. Bill's leadership style blends sharp business acumen with an adventurous spirit. He's a lifelong martial artist, competitive marathon and triathlon athlete, motorcycle enthusiast, and certified helicopter pilot. You weren't expecting that one to come in there. Always chasing the next thrill with the same intensity he brings to his work with global sales and marketing teams. His passion for life and leadership is contagious, and his insights are as bold and dynamic as his lifestyle. Whether he's speaking at global industry events, coaching executive teams, sales teams, or mentoring the next generation of sales leaders, Bill brings unmatched energy, wisdom, and authenticity to every conversation. He doesn't just talk about success, he lives it. All right, guys, so no matter where you are, whether you're in Costco, your kitchen, your car, give Bill a round of applause and welcome him to the Marketing Matrix. Thanks so much for coming again today.
Oh, that's fantastic. What a great intro. So thanks for that. In fact, as you were doing that, I was thinking to myself, I want to meet that guy.
I love it. I love it. You could schedule an appointment, right? Fantastic. So, for those that don't know you, Bill, give us a little bit of background. Like how did sales catch your attention? Like what is one of your earliest memories where you're like, whoa, like this is a skill that is like so important or that you're passionate about.
So it's kind of an eclectic journey, but I would say that sales is well, first of all, sales is something that I still do. I'm a sales guy. And no matter where I go or what I do, what title I have, I'm always going to be a sales guy. And if you really think about it, when you look at most senior leaders, CEOs, things like that, you got to ask yourself a question. What is the background? And a lot of them came from sales. So I started as a salesperson so long ago, I don't even want to tell you. I'll give you the very short course. Really good at it. I got promoted into sales leadership. I ended up in a corporate environment, turning around business units, business entities, became really good at that. And then I left the corporate environment. I started a internet incubator here in Atlanta, and that was during the dot-com bubble, I would say. And when that bubble blew up, I decided to start a software company. The common theme, though, is I'm a good deal guy. I'm a good sales guy. I learned skill sets at a very young age that I've always leveraged, still leverage those today. And when I sold the software company, I ended up moving into Revenue Storm. And with Revenue Storm, I've been here 18 years and I literally teach salespeople how to sell, account leaders, how to become account leaders. And we take a more sophisticated approach We leverage science, but look, fundamental sales skills are still fundamental sales skills. We're in the environment of AI today. I've lived through so many big transformations with technology, but again, sales skills are sales skills. A lot of people say to themselves, I could never be a salesperson. Salespeople are born, they're not made. I absolutely disagree with that. Anybody can be a salesperson. In fact, I'll leave you with this thought. Some of the best salespeople that I know come from finance, engineering backgrounds, technical backgrounds, etc. So it is absolutely a learned skill set. I lied to you. This is the last comment. If you look at the MBA programs today, I graduated from Johns Hopkins University with an MBA. If you look at all the foundational and I would say functional areas they address, and Hopkins has a great program. The one area they never address is sales. And yet, in my opinion, it's probably the most important functional area because nobody gets paid until somebody sells something. And if you're working in a big company, if you're working in a small company, if you're working in a startup, I believe one of the most valuable groups of people are salespeople and sales leaders. So I'll kind of leave that with you as more of a premise, and then we can speak more about that as we.
I love it. Well, and I love how passionate I can tell that you are, like, truly passionate
I
about it.
am.
Like, the phrase that, like, really stuck out to me is, like, "No one gets paid until someone sells something," right?
It's very true. Very
Like,
true.
and I'm a part of a business coaching group right now, and one of the things that one of the mentors says constantly is "I'm not saying that money solves problems, but he's like, if you make more money, like, it gives you the opportunity to solve a lot of things because you have the capital to be able to hire better talent,
Exactly.
get better training, to be able to provide the assets you needed to be able to overcome the problems that you're facing." And so he's like, yeah, we can work on mindset and like there's business structural strategy things and there's lots of little tactics, but like at the end of the day, like you need money to be able to do that. And that only happens if you sell. And
That's
so
exactly right.
I love that so much. So in sales revenue or sorry, in revenue storm, are you just over like the sales function, or is that what revenue storm does? Like revenue storm is a sales training company.
So Revenue Storm does a number of things. If I was to say, what do we really do? We help companies drive revenue, right? Revenue, margin, new client acquisition, market share. We're in the business of money. So when we work with a client, it's all about bringing their salespeople, their account leaders, their account teams to a different level of sales performance. So I can throw out a couple statistics, right? The average win rate with most companies today, your salespeople are probably at 25% win rate. What does that mean? Well, it means that you have a 75% lose rate. That's abhorrent. That's horrible, right? If you're not north of 50%, that's a problem. And there are a lot of struggling salespeople out there, a lot of struggling sales leaders. Sales leaders have teams, say their span of control is 11, 10 people. They're probably making their numbers, if they're making their numbers on the backs of 4 people. What if I could get you to the point where 8 people were consistently making their plan? I mean, there's an enormous benefit and upside. Here's another one. I manage accounts. I'm an account manager. No, you're really an account leader and you are a salesperson, whether you like it or not. And at the end of the day, and we were just talking about this earlier inside the company, the average company, the average account maybe has a penetration of about 15 to 20% of what we could get, and they don't really understand how they can get to that additional 85 or 80%. So we fix those fundamental problems, drive revenue, and I would say this, at Revenue Storm, we're very different. Yes, we do a lot of training, but we bring science into the equation. So whereas sales is looked upon sometimes as this art, and if you're in finance or technical, jobs, you might even look at it as a bit of voodoo. We can literally bring salesmanship, right, the sales process into a very, very defined, almost linear path where you can learn these different skills and an approach. And we inject science into the equation to the point where it becomes very consistent, replicable, and something you can scale. So that I would say that's a big differentiator for us.
Yeah, I love that. So, and I wanna dive into that stat that you mentioned, like
Sure.
the win rate being 20
Yeah.
to 25%. So, I love how your response is like, "That's abhorrent," right? Because that really is, like, industry standard, yet, like, so people just kind of expect that, like, that's, like, the status quo. So, I'm curious from your perspective, like, can you like, are there trends that you notice in terms of, like, the key elements that people are missing that's causing them to have a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 win rate? Or, like, is it really kinda dependent on the person?
There's a number of variables that affect that, but I'll tell you what the biggest issue is, and that is a qualification. So if you were running your own business, and maybe some of your listeners and viewers are running their own business, they're probably very judicious about who they talk to, what engagements they take on. Am I going to put a lot of effort into a proposal on this, or am I going to really qualify this and only go after things that I believe I can win? In many large organizations or within our clients at times, we don't necessarily have that strong qualification. They go after everything, right? If it looks like an opportunity, we're going to pursue it. Some of these opportunities could be hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars, and it involves a number of resources. So if you really want to drive your win rate up, start killing deals. That sounds like completely counterintuitive. I'll give you a quick story. I went and took over a business unit, and it was in horrible shape. Revenue was down, sales were down, win rate was down. And I brought salespeople in, and I traveled out to this organization, right? I literally moved to Kansas City, and I brought the salespeople in, and we played a game called Present and Defend, and they would present the deals they were working on, and then I would have them defend them. And I would ask a number of questions. And there were a number of things that we were chasing that we shouldn't chase. I mean, no offense, we love you, but we're not going to go after this opportunity because it doesn't fit what we do very well, or we don't believe we're going to affect the outcomes that you want to create. For whatever reason, it just doesn't make sense. So we believe you should qualify early and often, and don't be afraid to kill deals. If you're a salesperson today and you've got a funnel or a pipeline of opportunity, I can guarantee you right now, you're sitting on 2 deals, 2 at least, that you need to kill, and you're afraid to do it for a variety of reasons. But the more time that you invest in them, the more loss you're gonna take. So, again, a variety of reasons as to why it doesn't make sense, but if you start killing deals and focus on opportunities that you can close, win rate goes up. It's basic math, right?
So, I think when businesses, especially when businesses first get started, right? Like, it's kind of is like we're a blend of, like, you gotta take whatever comes, 1, so that you can make revenue, but 2, so that you can kinda figure out, like, where is your sweet spot, right?
Yes.
So, I'm curious from your perspective, like, do you feel like companies are switching to saying no more often too late? Or, like, do they not understand, like, where that inflection point is? Like, do you know where that inflection point is? Like, when is it when people should start saying no?
Again, I think you need to qualify early and often, and I think the earlier that you can recognize that it's not good business. I mean, there's 2 questions, right? Can I sell this? Which we all ask, that's a natural question. The other question is, should I sell this? And so we bring some science in terms of a tool, an application that helps you make that decision by answering a number of questions. Push that aside. A lot of times your gut tells you this isn't a really good fit. And if it isn't, explore that. Your gut is telling you something your brain's not recognizing. But if it's a bad business, I'll tell you one of the things that people do, companies do. Just because it has a big number attached to it, $1,000,000, $30,000,000, whatever the number might be, $5,000. Bad deal at a big number, right, is still a bad deal. So if it's not something that really makes sense, it's not a good fit. There's lots of reasons. We don't have the resources. We've never done it before, and we're in it, and when we tried it, it didn't work out well, right? Or the decision is so convoluted, or it might be leaning towards a competitor. You just have to have the courage to look at it, call it for what it is, and literally just not pursue it. And what if you do pursue it, number 1, you're not gonna close it more than likely. You're gonna waste a lot of time and resources. It's a double whammy because it keeps you from investing in the deals that you should be focused on. Can I just take 30 seconds more?
Please keep going.
Okay.
You're on
So
fire. Don't stop now.
back in the day, this is an exercise in psychology about deals, right? So back in the days with stockbrokers, it would drive them crazy. They would have clients that had a stock that was going up really, really quickly and a stock that was plummeting really, really quickly. In a normal person, in a normal uninvested environment would look at this and go, oh, well, if you're going to sell one of them, sell the one that's plummeting, ride the one that's going up. They don't do that. That's not human psychology. You tend to stick with the one that's going up, or I'm sorry, the one that's going down, and you sell the one that's going up if you had to make the choice. And you go, that's crazy. Why would you do it? Oh, because the one that's going down will eventually come back up, right? And make it worthwhile. There's no guarantee of that. But you have a psychological blocking that says, I can fix it. I can turn it around. It'll always happen, right? It's the same psychology in deals. If I just work harder, I can close this No, make the decision to cut your losses, hide your winners. It's that simple. But you have to have a bit of courage and you have to have the ability to actually talk about it to say, yeah, it's not good business. We're going to move on.
Yeah,
That's as simple as it can get.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about the qualification process. Do you feel that is it simply a lack of uncovering like what needs to be qualified, or is it like people don't know necessarily like what qualification parameters need to be in their business, or like not understanding their product delivery enough? Like what are the elements of qualification that are really important to be able to close the right deals for your company?
So I think there's a couple things, right? So for example, and what you said was very accurate. It's all of that. But if I'm looking at a deal, I got to look at it in terms of, is there enough margin? Am I going to make enough profit on this to satisfy my growth? I had a CEO say this years ago that I thought was interesting. And she said, I'm not interested in growing just for the sake of growing. We are not in the business of consuming empty calories. So, in other words, you could show revenue growth, but if you don't have a corresponding margin or the margin's very thin, all you're doing is showing revenue growth with very little profit. That makes no sense. So, counterintuitively, you might slow your growth, but achieve greater levels of profit. If that makes sense in the business model, that's great. Different companies have different drivers, but I thought that was a super intelligent thing to say. So when I look at a deal, or an opportunity from the should we sell point of view. A, does it line up with what we do very well? Or do we have to do kind of some wild, crazy things to make it work? Is there enough margin in the deal, right? On the can we sell? Well, is there enough emotional momentum? Do we have the right relationships? Do we have a compelling story? Are we differentiated? So we have to go through these litmus tests. Every company is a bit different, but you go through these commonsensical litmus tests and you have to say, it's big money, but it doesn't fit what we do. And by the way, in my opinion, if that's the case and you pursue it, you're actually putting your client in harm's way because maybe you do sell it. And then all of a sudden, the client's dissatisfied. They're having a horrible time. They're not. So you might have been what I call penny wise and pound foolish. You made a today decision, but tomorrow is going to be really ugly. If you've been in sales for any length of time, I guarantee you've made that mistake. Well, why not weed them out right up front? If you're a retail salesman, right? People are coming in the door to look at your stuff. There are some people that are there to buy something, and there are other people that are just browsing or so you wouldn't spend time with them, right? They're going to waste your time. Be with the people that are in a position to buy where it makes sense. It's that simple. But walk away with the number that 25, 30% win rate equals a 70, 75% lose rate. And when you look at the lose rate, you go, that's crazy. I would never play that game. And yet a lot of salespeople do it every day.
Hmm. Okay, this is really interesting. So you're talking about the qualification from the perspective of does it fit with our company? What about also the qualification of uh, is it the right is it the right deal to take? Not necessarily from how it fits in the company, but like whether it's like the right industry or the company size or like Is that in your mind when you're talking about qualifications as well, or do you feel like where the majority of mistakes in qualification happen is in fit with the company that's doing the selling? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be also a consideration. I know there are a lot of startups, smaller companies, they've only got limited resources, maybe they don't have scalability, and yet they really want that very large client. So they go out there and they woo that large client and they actually win it. Well, now you got a huge problem because you can't meet the requirements. You don't have the people or the scalability, the geo reach, whatever it happens to be. That was a dumb decision. You got diluted, right? You diluted yourself. Got intoxicated over the size of the client, the amount of money you could make, and now you failed. And you've done a couple of things. You failed the client, so they're never going to use you again. Reputation wise, you're really in worse condition. But here's the other thing: you might have demoralized some of the people internally. You might have missed other opportunities you could have made, and because you focused on that, you might have put your company in a difficult financial position. I know a lot of startups and a lot of smaller companies that have made that mistake. I started a software company. We were small to mid-size, and we were always tasked with that. Do we really want to do business with that very large enterprise client? It's hard to say. We're not cut out for that. We really are a mid-market company. So stick to what you're good at. Don't color outside the lines unless you're willing to take a gamble and make the investment to be good at that. So I think it's a good question that would be just kind of the commonsensical answer I'd give you.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love it. I think it's a really, really wise answer that's backed by clearly a lot of experience for sure. So, what about for those companies that are wanting to fry bigger fish, try different things, expand into the market?
Well, okay, so you're making a strategy decision, right? We're gonna move into a new market, and we're gonna expand our so you have to in order to do that, you have to have some base of confidence, right? You got some premise of success. And let's say I'm in the manufacturing environment, but I think we can leverage this and move into an adjacent market, technology or what have you, and we're gonna leverage our core competency. Okay, that's just an extension. But you have to have the resources, you have to make the investment. Sometimes it's almost like launching a brand new company to some extent. You have to have the people, you have to have the processes. I'm not telling anybody to shy away from taking some risk, etc. Don't do that. But think intelligently and have a strategy. And if you're going to go after it, be well capitalized, have your value proposition lined up, understand how you're going to leverage your core strengths, but don't just jump into things and then realize once you've jumped in that the water's too hot, you need to get out, right?
Yeah,
In fact, from a company point of view, I've seen companies that smaller companies maybe or mid-sized companies that try to do that. They haven't thought it through. They make this big announcement and splash, and then 2 years later they're saying, "Hey, we're exiting the market." Blah. Okay, that's a fail. So you just want to think about what you're doing, what you're good at. It would be, for example, I'm good at this, but now I'm going to do something completely different that has no basis on leveraging a skill set that I've already got. Well, that's brand new territory. You might be really bad at it. So I'd rather you think through that decision before you just knee jerk and just move into a new market or a new area or whatever it happens to be, or even a size of client.
mm,
You should have a real good understanding of that box. What is your profile of client? Who fits in the box? And if they don't fit in the box, then unfortunately the decision is you probably don't want to pick that business up.
yeah, yeah. It's so good. This is so fascinating. I love it. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about Revenue Storm in terms of like the types of companies that you work with, the industry that you work in. What?
So if I had to pick a industry, we are very heavily technology driven, right? So we work with clients like an IBM, we work with a Kyndryl, we worked with an AWS, we worked with a Google, we work with Schneider Electric. So our clients tend to be in the technology arena, but that doesn't mean that we don't work with manufacturing, et cetera. We work on problems that are horizontal. So if you have a sales problem, we can help fix that. If you have an account leadership problem, meaning that we're not doing a good job with generating revenue and opportunity within an existing base. We can help with that. We have issues with sales leadership. We can help with that. So we span a number of industries. We're not constrained necessarily because the issues tend to be horizontal and we're applicable to a number of different issues, right? I would say that we tend to be more of a higher mid-market, high-end enterprise client from a customer point of view, but we are moving down market because we're finding that the mid-market, which I define as 250 million to 2 billion, that market, that mid-market has the same problems that large accounts have, but they don't have the resource. We fit well. And to be honest with you, we're actually looking at, and we've had clients that are maybe a couple million smaller people. We've done work with them as well. Again, the reason we can do that is sales problems tend to be very similar and we have ways to address it. We aren't necessarily the cheapest client in town, right? But that's because number one, we tend to have very intensive engagements. We put a lot of effort into these things. And the people that we employ, we don't, this is going to sound disparaging. I don't mean it to sound this way. We don't just go out and hire trainers. We don't just go out and hire guys and gals that just could sit down and talk to people around coaching. Every person that works for us has an incredible resume and background of experience. They're not cheap. So, we do a really good job. The impact that we create is phenomenal. We can measure it. So I know that I've helped you with your win rate. I've seen a revenue jump. Your margin has increased, right? We've helped you move into new markets with success. We've helped you launch products that have gotten return on investment. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. I love it. So what are some of Revenue Storm's big initiatives for 2026? What's on the horizon?
And what do you think people are talking about today?
AI, man.
Exactly, exactly. So I've spent the better part of this week in Chicago talking about AI, and we are in AI. We have made a significant investment in AI. So we provide salespeople, sales leaders, companies with tools, science-based tools. And while those have been outstanding and they've generated results, we're now pushing AI behind that. And I will make a comment that I hope everybody on this podcast hears, understands, and takes action around. We are not believers that AI will take a salesperson's job, but an AI enabled salesperson will decimate people that don't use AI. And if you're out there using Copilot, ChatGPT, Grok, pick one, I don't care. Right. If you're not doing that, you're already behind. And a lot of people, I saw something that was really sad, but they said 70% of people using AI in the work environment, 70% were using it for non-work related tasks. And I just find that I'm incredulous about that. I mean, look, what are the things you can do? Well, what is my client interested in? What are their key initiatives? What are their mission statements? What are their values? How can I generate a proposal? How can I respond to this RFP? How would you give me coaching on dealing with this CMO or CIO? What are some key messages? Maybe some ChatGPT, Copilot, Grok can answer all of those questions. If you're not using AI today in some form as a salesperson or just as a business person, you are crazy. And by the way, somebody said to me, yeah, Bill, this is really going to have an impact in the next 2 or 3 years. No, it's having an impact right now. And well, I don't know what to do. Go get a subscription to ChatGPT. Start using it. It's kind of funny. I'll just tell you a story I find interesting. So when I first started with ChatGPT, and I used Copilot and I used ChatGPT and a number of others, but I would drive to the airport. It takes me an hour and a half to get to the airport. And I have a little holder for my phone, and I'd bring up ChatGPT and I'd hit the mic and literally have a conversation going to the airport with ChatGPT. It's like having the smartest, wisest, person on the planet talking to you for an hour and a half about any subject that you want and giving you unbelievable insights about just about anything. And it's funny because my wife was in the car with me and she was watching me and listening to me do this. She goes, "How do I do that?" And I said, "Well, you got to sign up for it." This is a person who spent the last 35 years as a nurse and is not necessarily a technology enabled person. She lives with ChatGPT today. So again, if you're not on the bandwagon, you are late to the party, and that is a bad thing. So I would suggest it's not too late. Go get your subscription. Don't care what platform, start playing. It's easy. Don't get intimidated. Start doing it.
I love it. I love it. Preach. That's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. I will. I will.
I love it. Well, I'm excited to see how AI gets integrated into your processes and makes things. I was just talking to another company owner earlier today who they were just talking about how it's allowing everything to just be faster, especially on the analysis side, so they can spend more time with clients actually in implementation and so it was interesting their philosophy on it.
I would give you an amendment to that statement. I agree with what you said. I would just say more quality time with the client, not just more time. That's true, but it's more insightful time. It's more valuable time. When I'm sitting with you, I already kind of know some of the issues, challenges, etc. And I want to show you that I've done my homework. And by the way, ChatGPT could do something in minutes that would normally take you hours to do. You got that meeting today with that CFO or that finance person or whoever it is, and you're not really prepared. Sit down with Chat. I'm using ChatGPT, any AI model, right? And just do 15 minutes of prep work. You're going to look like a genius. That's the kind of difference it makes, right?
So good. Well, Bill, it has been an absolute joy having you on the podcast, and
Oh,
I
it's been
love
fun. It's been
it's
fun.
like you're just like a ball exuding energy. It's just like anything you're talking about, whether it's sales or hunting or uh, GPT, like
Skydiving or Jeeps or any of that. Yeah, no, I'm like this 24/7. Yeah, I'm like this all the time, man. Yeah, so no, it's been a pleasure, and I really do mean this. I hope that it had some value for the people that are listening or viewing. Yeah, so it was a pleasure to be here. It really was.
I know that it hasn't, and I also want to say that I love your just like straightforward nature, right? Because I think we need more of that, just saying it how it is in the world today.
I've
So
always been that way, and it's a way I like to be communicated with, and I just don't have time to play the games or talk around the subject. Let's just talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's be straight up about things,
I
right?
love it. I love it. Well, Bill, how can people follow you and what you're up to or Revenue Storm? Like where's the best place to connect?
So the website, as you mentioned, I was an EVP, but I'm also on the executive team. You can see the company and the leadership team, et cetera, and what we do at revenuestorm.com. So www.revenuestorm.com. If anyone wants to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. It's under William Wallace, Revenue Storm, very easy to find. And if you'd like to email me, if there's something in particular you'd like to talk about, maybe there's an opportunity, whatever it is, you Wallace at revenuestorm.com. Super simple. And I love to connect with people. I only ask one thing, and I would pass this on to your viewers and listeners. When you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, do not use the standard, I'd like to connect to your network. Don't do that. It's a kiss of death. And I will guarantee if you try that with me, I will reject it. You have to give people a reason why you want to connect with them. It could be simple, right? And most people will let you in, but if I don't know you and you're just reaching out with a generic connection, it doesn't speak really well. So that's just a little bit of LinkedIn etiquette that I'll share with you that somebody at my level or above is really going to be pay attention to.
I love it. Such good advice, and it's so true. So, guys, I'm going to put the links and his email address in the episode notes so you can get access to those and link directly to that. Bill, again, thank you so much for coming and just giving it to us straight from there's no water added to this concentrate here. It is concentrated from everything you talked to Bill. And so again, thank you so much. And for everyone listening, we know your time is valuable. So for you to spend time with us means everything. So thank you again for listening to the Marketing Matrix. And until next time.
It's been a pleasure.